Hi to everybody and welcome back. Now we again change tracks. We go to the biotech world. Welcome to you, Ben from ExpreS2ion Biotechnologies. Our theme is a little about 23, and we must say you are probably looking into a very, exciting years with COVID-19 and a new start to a new project in the pipeline. But I will hand the word over to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you to HC Andersen Capital for allowing me to present ExpreS2ion Biotech here. My name is Ben Fransen. I'm the CEO of ExpreS2ion Biotech. We have as our mission to turn complex proteins into tomorrow's vaccines, and that's exactly what we're doing, as Michael alluded to. First, I have a disclaimer. Since we are a public listed company at the Nasdaq First North Growth Market in Stockholm, I will come with some forward-looking statements. I'll let you read this in detail when we publish this presentation afterwards. We are a Denmark-based biotech company focusing on infectious diseases and oncology. Here we have a high-value pipeline addressing some of the most fatal diseases around these days. We have a very strong patent portfolio backing our pipeline efforts up. We have a vaccine development platform with a very strong track record. It's been validated in partnerships and client relations for over 10 years, and it's also regulatory approved even for late-stage clinical development, as we have a phase 3 stage program going on at the moment. We are addressing the vaccine market, which on a global scale is more than $180 billion and has had a tremendous growth in the last couple of years, obviously driven by the COVID-19 pandemic. And here we have a very important stake in this field. We are advancing our pipeline towards key catalyst here in 2023, which I'll be alluding to in this presentation, especially revolving the COVID-19 vaccine. And this is the pipeline as we show it today. As I mentioned, we have pipeline activities in infectious diseases and oncology. The COVID-19 vaccine project, we call it ABNCoV2. It's in phase 3 now. It's fully out-licensed to Bavarian Nordic, which is the sponsor of the current clinical investigations, and also the eventual distributor and commercial partner in this project. We have a breast cancer vaccine project that we call ES2B-C001, where we target HER2, and here we have very strong preclinical animal data that we have announced here in 2022. It's fully in-licensed from AdaptVac, an associated company that ExpreS2ion owns 34% of. And furthermore, we have activities in influenza and malaria, and a very new thing that I want to highlight here is a CMV project, which we have just announced last week. This is a partnership with another Denmark-located biotech company called Evaxion, where we have a 50-50% partnership on developing a novel CMV vaccine, a novel cytomegalovirus vaccine, which I'm also going to address here in this presentation. We have very unique technology platforms that, as depicted here, on the left side, I'm addressing the ExpreS platform. You will notice it's expressed, it is spelled ExpreS with an S2, which you also find in our company name. That's because we use S2 insect cells. They are known in the industry. However, ExpreS2ion has patented an improved expression system based on these insect cells. And we have used this for more than a decade to make recombinant proteins, complex proteins, both for clients and now also for our pipeline. This technology we apply in all our pipeline projects. To the right side, you see the VLP technology. This is a virus-like particle technology that has been invented at Copenhagen University and placed in a company called AdaptVac, which ExpreS2ion owns 34% of. This allows for the bonding of any protein of interest on the surface of a VLP using a proprietary superglue system. The combination of the ExpreS platform and the VLP technology are used in the pipeline projects for the breast cancer vaccine project, ES2B-C001, as well as in the COVID-19 vaccine, ABNCoV2, which is now in clinical phase 3, so which is all in all a very strong validation of these technology platforms. Moving into our pipeline projects, first the COVID-19 project. I think you're all aware of this disease over the last couple of years. There's a number of drawbacks with the current vaccines. The duration effect is limited. It's difficult to store and handle with the up to minus 80 degrees conditions, and addressing the mutants or variants of concern is also a cumbersome business. And we, with our COVID-19 vaccine ABNCoV2, actually can address all of these drawbacks. As mentioned, Bavarian Nordic is the sponsor of this project now. It's fully out-licensed to Bavarian Nordic, and in the last 1.5 years, they have completed a clinical phase 2 trial with very strong data. Most recently here in October, they announced 6 months follow-up data from the phase 2 trial, showing also durable antibody levels across variants of concern. Furthermore, Bavarian Nordic have initiated the phase 3 trial, where 4,000 people are going to be enrolled across the US and Europe. And this was initiated in September, and initial early readout is expected in the beginning of 2023. And Bavarian Nordic is planning for a rolling submission during 2023, hopefully with an approval in a year's time or so. Let's see about that. The interesting thing about this is that there's a licensing agreement with Bavarian Nordic, which will also flow in cash to ExpreS2ion. The licensing agreement is between the associated company AdaptVac, which we own 34% of, and Bavarian Nordic. It allows AdaptVac to receive up to 136 million euro in development and sales milestones, and single to double-digit royalties of Bavarian's revenues from ABNCoV2. Furthermore, ExpreS2ion and AdaptVac have a license agreement to allow for the ExpreS system in the final product. And as mentioned, we own 34% of AdaptVac, and we can receive up to 2 million euro in commercial milestone payments, as well as lower double-digit percentage of AdaptVac royalties. So this is a very interesting near-term revenue stream that we look into. Moving into the breast cancer vaccine project ES2B-C001, we're addressing a very common cancer. 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer in a lifetime, and 25% will have overexpression of the HER2 receptor, which is exactly the target we address with our vaccine. More than 500,000, more than 600,000 women die every year from this disease, so there's a strong need for an improved medication. The current market is addressed by monoclonal antibodies, which have annual sales of more than $11 billion. 2 well-known brands are Herceptin, also known as trastuzumab, or Perjeta, also known as pertuzumab. However, these also come with some drawbacks. For example, resistance, which is known to occur in 20 to 30% of women, meaning that patients will not benefit from the monoclonal therapy at all. A potential risk of heart-related side effects, and then there's a very cumbersome administration with very frequent hospital visits, and it's a very expensive treatment as well. And basically, ExpreS2ion's HER2 targeted vaccine approach offers potential to overcome these drawbacks through internal monoclonal antibody production. That's what we do. The good thing here is I've been earlier this year and also at the end of 21 announcing the solid preclinical proof of concept data. Now here in October, these data were actually released in a very nice scientific journal called Biomedicines. So you can go in there and read the studies that we have performed. We've documented very effectively in preclinical settings that we can inhibit tumor development. We can prevent tumor development with a 95% efficiency. And very importantly, that we can actually overcome the resistance. We've seen that in vitro settings. So this is all very promising for this exciting vaccine. And now a new thing, which we have just announced last week, that ExpreS2ion is going to perform research in CMV. This is cytomegalovirus. It's an infectious disorder that is quite common. It's related to herpes, so the virus is related to the herpes family. In fact, 1 in 3 children will be infected with CMV by the age of 5, and more than 50% of adults are infected with the virus by the age of 40. These are data coming out from the US, and the seriousness around this is when you think about organ transplants and newborn babies. Here there are some concerns. 1 in 5 organ transplants, for example in kidney, liver or heart transplantations, are at risk of CMV infection. Furthermore, 1 in 200 newborns will have what is called congenital CMV infection, or CCMI. And in fact, 1/5 of newborns with congenital CMV infections will have long-term health problems. It's well known that CMV infections in newborns can cause deafness or loss of vision. And with our vaccine approach, we will do something about this. And this we're doing in a partnership with another Denmark-based biotech company called ExpreS2ion. We have just announced this agreement last week on the 6th of December 2022. It's a vaccine discovery collaboration agreement where we join forces with ExpreS2ion to discover and research into a novel CMV vaccine. From ExpreS2ion side, we are already putting this into our pipeline as a discovery stage project. We will call it ES2B-I002. We, together with ExpreS2ion, will perform research over the next couple of years. ExpreS2ion is a company that has a very strong system biology, computational information platform. They work with artificial intelligence in this field. They have a proprietary AI platform called Raven that will be applied for designing the gene construct that we want to use as basis for the CMV vaccine. This is super nice. And something that we are looking into in general. We have known this both when we work with clients and in our other projects, that the very early discovery efforts in looking into the bioinformatics of a novel vaccine is extremely important, and ExpreS2ion has the tools to do that. Coming out of those tools, ExpreS2ion will do what we excel in. We will make the antigen, and we have the know-how to develop the vaccine when it comes to production and further development. And then ExpreS2ion actually also have the preclinical setting for doing early functional testing of the vaccine candidates we're looking into. We want, within this time frame of 2 to 2.5 years, we will be looking into the immunogenicity of the selected vaccine candidate. All this is going on a 50-50% cost-sharing basis. So what ExpreS2ion has of cost for this project, ExpreS2ion will pay 50% of. What ExpreS2ion has of cost for this project, ExpreS2ion will pay 50% of. And as mentioned in the press release last week, actually both companies expect these costs to be within our budgets. Most exciting is then when we've done this research in the next couple of years, we will be able to select a vaccine candidate, and ExpreS2ion will have the first option to license the CMV vaccine asset. That will, of course, mean that we will have to pay some milestone payments and eventual royalties to ExpreS2ion. And we will also be sponsoring the development onwards thereafter. We believe this project actually comes with a cost perspective which we can contain to a large extent. Now we have 2 years to use research efforts into this project, and we'll be planning more on this. So looking overall into our pipeline and near-term key catalyst, on the COVID-19 project, the ABNCoV2, of course, we are very much dependent on Bavarian Nordic. As alluded to, Bavarian Nordic are in phase 3 now with this project. The initial readout is expected in early 2023. We're looking very much forward to that. Bavarian Nordic will initiate a rolling submission to the regulatory authorities, and who knows, in a year's time, I hope we can say that it's ready for market launch, and that means in 2024 and moving onwards, there will be royalties from sales coming into AdaptVac and ExpreS2ion. So this is super exciting and a very, very important place to be for a biotech company like us. On the breast cancer vaccine project, ES2B-C001, as I mentioned, we've shown very, very nice preclinical proof of concept data here in 2022. Now we're scaling up on the GMP manufacturing processes, and we have initiated the preclinical safety studies. And in fact, the preclinical safety studies, we expect outcome from this in the middle of 2023. This is very important readout because it will form the basis of the filing of the clinical trial application later in 2023. The aim with this project is to start the first human dosing in early 2024. And moving onwards, as soon as we are into a human clinical setting, I expect a window to open when it comes to discussing with potential sub-licensing partners to co-develop this going onwards. On the influenza side, I haven't had time to mention that much about that. We are enrolled in a grant-sponsored project called Indigo, together with 15 other partners in a large consortium. We have made the selected candidate in our ExpreS system, and depending on grant funding, this project can move onwards with preclinical safety setting and GMP scale up later in 2023. The cytomegalovirus project, which is now new in our pipeline, the ES2B-I002, we have established the discovery partnership together with Evaxion, and the next couple of years we will be spending time together with Evaxion to do the research on the CMV vaccine target, applying the AI, the artificial intelligence platform in Evaxion's hands, develop the substance and move it into preclinical testing so that we can get a positive outcome and ExpreS2ion can select the lead CMV vaccine candidate in 2025. Furthermore, in malaria, let me conclude with that. We have seen in this year that we're very much dependent on University of Oxford with our lead malaria projects. The PFS 4845 project that was intended to start phase 1 study here in 2022 seems to move into 2023. I get the message from University of Oxford that it doesn't roll as fast as they had anticipated 1 year ago. That goes with the other projects that they have that we collaborate with University of Oxford as well, the RH5 VLP and the RH5 ongoing clinical phase 1 studies, which however should get a readout before the end of 2023. But this shows that it's not easy to progress a project when you work in a setting with an academic partner. So that's why I'm super happy with the CMV virus project, where we are in control of moving this onwards. Let me conclude with those words and hand back the mic to...
Perfect. Ben, let's start with a question. Large competitors have tried on this CMV area. I think Pfizer since 2014 or even earlier, but that was when I first read about it. Moderna is also. Why are you moving into this? You know, a little bit of... elaborate a little bit on why do you think two small Danish players will make a difference in an area that has been hard to do something about?
Well, there's no vaccine on the market today, and there's a strong need in this field. And the fact that Moderna is so late in this game is actually super exciting, and I think it will actually open the door for us, ExpreS2ion and Evaxion in this field going onward. And then I still want to maintain that the Moderna approach based on messenger RNA vaccines, who knows about the duration of the effect of their vaccine approach? We come with protein, recombinant protein approach, where we will expect also a long-term duration, but of course that remains to be seen over the years.
Maybe a little bit.
Other projects that have been going on which have failed, that's a risk of the game, but it tells me that big pharma have an interest in this, and that's actually is exciting when you look at this from the perspective of us having the lead CMV candidate and going into partnering discussions later in the year, but it's further down the road, of course.
And there's a question also, what does ExpreS2ion bring to the table? And I think you explained that a little bit, you know. Is that why you're also excited? Their AI platform to kind of very fast research different genes that might be of interest. Is that one of your optimism coming from? Or
before ExpreS2ion can do what we are experts in, making the active ingredient using our proprietary S2 system, it's always good to look into the design of the antigen. How is the protein going to look like? What are the gene sequences? And these gene sequences you can best design using a bioinformatics platform. And that's where ExpreS2ion come into play. So it's very complementary actually to what we do. And we will have that in interaction with ExpreS2ion. I should say, actually, by the way, it's actually a neighbor company in the DTU Science Park where we are located here north of Copenhagen. They're literally only 5 minutes walk away from the company. So it's very good for collaboration, actually, that we can interact, especially here in the early phase where we want to design the right construct so ExpreS2ion can make the right candidate basically for the vaccine.
And then there's a question, maybe you elaborated a little about 50-50 financing and so on, and you also wrote that it was within your budget. Is that because it's in the exploration phase that's possible, because it's not moving into some phases? Is that why it's that is possible? Because normally if you go to a preclinical, it would need some capital. Is that how we should understand it?
That is actually correct. It is a discovery collaboration, and the first couple of years we will use our efforts and be a handful of people from each side looking at this, and it is actually within what we do, and we can contain it within other projects that we're working on. So once we have selected a CMV candidate in 2025, we have to consider other validation in preclinical trials. Maybe we have to outsource some preclinical testing, and going further down the road, having a clinical CMV candidate, we will of course need also to outsource the clinical testing of that, and then it becomes expensive. But that's really later in the second half of this decade.
And a little bit, how will you know, biotech is all about news flow. How will, in an exploration phase, will there be some data out? Will you comment on it, or do we need to get into 24, 25 before you might comment on it and say we are now pretty sure about a candidate or something like that?
Well, I'll definitely use my platforms with respect to our shareholders to communicate on where we are with this project. I think that for me, the biggest announcement will be the selection of the CMV candidate, the outcome of this project, of course. Yeah. But during the work, there will be several milestones. If we want to make big splash announcements, that can be discussed because it is research.
Yeah. And then there's a question here: is the COVID-19 timeline still early 23? You mentioned that, and the reason why I'm asking, we actually got a news flow out from Danish news media that a lot of Danish people, because it's a Danish vaccine, has actually signed up for getting it. I also saw a picture of you getting a stab in the arm. So is that timeline still holding? And is it good news that a lot of people are signing up for, you know, doing the vaccine? You know, that is always the problem and can delay something.
Yes, it's correct. I couldn't help myself enrolling in this phase 3 trial, and I had a shot here the previous week. I don't know if it's ABNCoV2 or if a messenger RNA vaccine from Pfizer, BioNTech. It's a double-blind controlled study, so neither me nor the doctor or nurses know what the vaccine is actually that I've been shot with. But it is under enrollment still, I believe. But then again, I also heard a few weeks ago, in Denmark at least, the study had already been fully enrolled. So I'm not sure myself about where this is. But again, according to Bavarian Nordic, it's on track, and we'll get some headline results in the beginning of 2023.
Thank you, Ben, for answering the question and taking us through your company.